Welcome to the Self-Publishing School podcast. This is the podcast to listen to if you're an aspiring writer or an author who wants to be more successful. On this show, you'll learn how to write and launch a book successfully, all from the top authors and people just like you who are doing it at the highest level. I'm your host, Chandler Bolt, the founder of Self-Publishing School, the author of the book called Published, and the CEO of selfpublishing.com. For free training on how to publish a book that sells 10,000 copies, go to selfpublishing.com/free training.
A book answers a lot of problems, really. It's a really powerful tool for you to get your knowledge out onto a subject, help some people, and use it as a business asset. Having that book as a calling card and as a piece of marketing material is very powerful. What could I do each day that would make success inevitable? I believe in whatever you're selling, you go for 20 no's a day, you're going to absolutely crush it.
Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and joining me today is Ray Higdon. Ray is the best-selling author of multiple books. He's a coach. He's a high-energy speaker. He co-authored the best-selling book is called Time, Money, Freedom with his wife, Jessica, published by Hay House back in 2020. Also, I didn't know about this. I didn't know this about you until I started doing my research for this. A star of a reality TV show called Play to Win. And he's the CEO of the Higdon Group, which is an Inc. 5000 company, is one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S. A lot of folks know him in the network marketing world as well, has done just incredibly well there. Maybe you've seen him speak a bunch of different events. Ray is my speaking goals for speaking at events. We'll crack that open a little bit in this episode, how he's booking and doing all these speaking gigs. We'll talk book stuff. We'll talk network marketing. A lot to cover. Ray, welcome.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me.
So I guess first things first, because you got a bunch of books. You've got, and many of that I'm just scrolling on Amazon right now. It's like freakishly effective social media for network marketing, 1,536 reviews. You've got Time, Money, Freedom, 318 reviews. Go for No for network marketing, 886. Like multiple books that have done well. Why books? Why is it such a big part of your brand, your business, the network marketing side of things, like all that?
Yeah, a book answers a lot of problems, really, right? One, just you're either an author or not an author, and that is a big distinction. There are so many people out there that, quote, want to write a book and someday I'll write a book. And then there's people that wrote a book. And so it's a big distinction for kind of your business, your business card, kind of for getting booked for speaking. Like there have absolutely been people book me for speaking, never read my books, just saw that I had books. and also, you're going to, over the years, depending on what game you're in, you're going to have, people that may not be able to afford your time or afford your coaching or even afford your courses, but they'll buy your book. And that book, if, written properly, you hope, will help them. And so it's a really powerful tool for you to get your knowledge out onto a subject, help some people, and use it as a business asset. And it's also, it gives you a little bit of flexibility too, right? So I've had people that said, hey, we don't have it in the budget for a speaking fee. And, but then they'll say, but we'd like to buy a book for everyone in the audience. I'm like, oh, well, that works too.
Yeah.
And so it just gives you some oomph. I've had a couple leaders that have bought, books in quantity of, and that kind of depends on what your book is about. But I've had people buy 200 books, 10 books, 15 books, 20 books. And so there's just a lot of power that goes with having an asset like a book.
Well, and it seems like just looking at some of the books you have, you've used books to feed certain brands or businesses that you've built, whether it's the network marketing side of things, whether it's the Higdon Group side of things, just kind of different avenues. It's interesting. I was reflecting on this, I've seen this kind of this theme come up. I literally just right before this interviewed, I don't know if you know him, Dr. Robert Rome, personality insights, disc assessment, all that stuff. But and I'm like, man, he is an incredible speaker, an incredible training. And I'm like, man, I haven't seen you guys before. He's like, that's because we go crazy in the network marketing world. This is like, we don't have to do any advertising. I think he's connected with Amway. But then it's interesting on the it's kind of similar note. When I had Robert Kiyosaki on the podcast, he talked about that's how Rich Dad Poor Dad took off.
Yeah, I know the story well.
Yeah, right. It's just you can tell the story. It was I think an Amway leader, or maybe it was a different organization, like found the book and then bought it for the whole company, and that was like the tipping point for the book. Is that
so
like
he his quote rich dad is a guy named Keith Cunningham, and he was mentoring. He's not his dad, but he's mentoring him. And he went to a bunch of publishers. They all rejected him, and then he went to Keith, and he's like, Keith, man, can I put my book at your car wash? And Keith's like, right. Sure, whatever. And so someone in Dexter Yeager's downline gets it, reads it, takes it, and Dexter's a humongous leader in Amway, actually. And so he reads it, takes it to Dexter. Dexter contacts Robert and says, I want 300,000 copies. So Robert had no way to make that many. And so he took it to a publisher. He goes, would you publish me now? And they're like, okay. And, and so that's how that book took off.
That's wild. What, I guess two lines of thought here. I mean, in your work that you do in the network marketing world, like, is this something that you recommend for people who are in the network marketing world, publishing a book to grow their business? Is it not worth it? Like, how do you look at that?
So a book to me, there are some exceptions, but not many, right? You write a book to lead people to other things mainly. Right. And so it's not typically to, hey, I need to make money, let me write a book. That's not normally the path, at least from my observation. You do it to lead them into a funnel or, something else, or to get stage time. And so I would never say, hey, y'all need to write a book to build your business. But I would say that once you've built a business, you should tell people how you did it and have that brand. I've had people that have built extremely large businesses. I'm talking to, I can't say names, of course, but I'm talking to someone right now. I gotta be careful with my words, but I'm talking with someone right now that not that long ago was making $400,000 a month in their company, right? Like clockwork, right? I had a great month, but like passive income, 400 G's a month. Right? You could almost live off that. And they had a change in ownership, and this person in that ownership are having some issues, and that income may go away because she don't own it, right? And so having a book, especially once you've built a business in that regard, helps you build a brand and build a following, which you take wherever you go. And so I do like it for that case. I just for network marketing specifically, I wouldn't use it as, hey, I've never built a business. I've never done anything. Let me make a book. Maybe it'll help me be successful. I don't like it in that regard. But if you've built a 6-figure business or higher than that in network marketing, probably worthwhile of writing a book. And the argument against it is, well, there's a lot of people doing better than me. That's not who you're writing the book for. You're writing a book for the 95% of people who aren't doing better than you, that would like to learn how you personally did it.
That's good. I like that. What about, like, I'd love to hear, so my background, I don't know if you know this, but I did student painters out of college, which, student painters, college pro, college works. It's basically like an internship where they teach you how to run a business by running a painting company. Cool. And so you're knocking on doors, you're convincing people to let you paint their house, like all this stuff. And it's not really a network marketing company. It's in the realm, I'd say. They would call it like an internship, and it's less recruitment based, but it's you're running a painting business. But anyways, long way to say, like, so many core skill sets that I learned from that experience that translated over when I started writing and publishing books. I'm curious for you on the network marketing side of things, like, what were some of the core skill sets you're like, hey, I had to do this, this, and this to grow the network marketing business. And because I did that when I started promoting these books to grow my business, like, there was a lot of overlap there.
Yeah. Network marketing teaches you all the skills you will need to run any kind of business, right? Now, when you run a different type of business, there are additional things, right? Trademark, distribution, supply chain, sourcing products, research and development. Like there's things you don't learn in network marketing that you have to deal with in other, companies and other businesses. But promotion, leadership, emotional intelligence and connecting with people, follow up, prospecting, closing, all those things you need for any business you ever do. And what you'll find if you dig in, the majority of gurus that you see today, Tony Robbins, Patrick Bet-David, came from network marketing. Like their initial start was learning network marketing, that they went, Jim Rohn, like so many of these people would not, I guarantee you, people would not know Jim Rohn if it wasn't for network marketing. They wouldn't know who he was. My friend Kyle helped him to, from his association with network marketing, become internationally, known and still to this day relevant after his passing. But without network marketing, he wouldn't be known. And here's the thing to think about, with network marketing as a speaker, that's pretty interesting, is if you look at what are the biggest transformational events that happen, right? Probably Tony, right? And he may, I don't know exactly, but he may have maybe 2 or 3 10,000 plus person events a year. I don't know exactly. Okay, what about sales? Well, you got Grant, right? Grant will run, once a year. I think he still gets about 10,000, people there. Network marketing every month, just in the United States, there's a 10,000 person event every month. There's 50,000 person events. And the US represents about 30% of network marketing. It's actually bigger in Asia. And so it's wild on all regards. It's just so interesting, this industry that God's placed me in. And I'm just, I'm grateful for it. It doesn't mean that I think it's superior to every other type of business. But it's a great option as the lowest risk, lowest overhead way for the average ordinary person to start a business. And so I love it. I'm grateful for it. Again, not everyone, is it a fit for, but you will learn the things you have to have in any other kind of business. And so I think it's for some people, it's a gateway, and people that never would have gotten into business. And for some, it becomes a lifestyle and a career.
Got it. Yeah. Why do you think that is, that there's so many folks that have come from the network marketing world? Do you think it's like, hey, because you have to learn all these skill sets that are then just highly transferable? Do you think it's the distribution mechanism where it's like, hey, if you're good in this world, then you have automatic distribution to, like you said, 10,000 person events happening every month? Do you think it's a little bit of both? Like, what's your take on that?
I think if you look at, people that build large businesses, at least, usually the larger you get and the more income you make, the more control you want. And, and that is a trade-off, right? You don't control what does supplies and inventory look like? What does the shipping schedule look like? What does the comp plan look like? You don't control that. You don't know if there's been people that have absolutely love their company, and then all of a sudden it changes hands, and then the comp plan changes. Now we're upset, right? And so it's a trade-off. When I look at when I was the number one earner of a network marketing company, my expenses, seriously, I'm not exaggerating this, my expenses were like $200 a month. So my major problem as the number one earner was taxes. I'm just like, dang, man, I got to get some write-offs, dude. And so, but when I came into traditional business, at the height of salaries, I was paying $130,000 a month just in salaries. And so it's it's a trade-off, right? But I have complete control, but I'm paying for that control. Don't get that twisted, right? And so it's kind of like, are you okay being a little bit out of control, right? Your control of your actions, your performance and that kind of stuff, but you don't make some of the bigger decisions that you may or may not like. If you want to be in control, you're gonna have to do your own thing, and which comes with a much higher risk, much higher capital investment, probably more time than you imagine, and it is what it is.
Yeah, that's a good distinction. And I can relate to that big overhead running a traditional business. Yeah. Oh man. You've got a book called Go for No for network marketing.
Yeah.
Can you explain, like, on a napkin, kind of what's that Go for No philosophy, and how does that maybe apply to marketing a book?
Yeah. So it sounds terrible, right? Go for no, no thanks, right? You know what I mean? Like, just on the surface, you're just like, nah. But what you'll find is every single successful person I've ever met got more no's than yeses. So if you're a wussy when it comes to rejection, then you're only going to grow to your comfort level, right? So when you purposely go for no, when you're like, how many no's can I get today? And that's how you feed yourself, then you become unstoppable because it does two specific things. Well, three specific things. Number one, it lowers your resistance to rejection, right? If you tell me, if I ask you, hey man, can I speak on your stage? And you say no, I'm like, okay, cool. One, right? I'm not like, oh, how dare you? I can't believe it, right? I'm not verklempt. I'm not beside myself. I'm not crying, tears in my beers, right? And so it lowers your resistance to rejection. Okay. It lowers your reaction, right? Your resistance to rejection, your reaction to rejection, which I just, displayed that. And so your reaction, because some people, they get knocked out of the game because someone told them no. So what's the big deal? You asked, right? Good for you, right? Number three, it fills your pipeline. Because if you don't care if you're going to get rejection, then you'll naturally ask people that you're pretty sure you'll get a no. But sometimes it's a yes. And sometimes that person that you thought would be a no could be a big yes, right? And if you just do that, so like for me, how I applied it in my life, and this is why I wrote the book and co-authored the book, right, with a couple of my friends. And so when I heard this concept, I just had this running question of what could I do each day that would make success inevitable, right? What can I do each day that would make success inevitable? And so I came up with three things.
Great question.
And this was July 15, 2009. I still remember the day. And so I thought, you know what? If I go for 20 no's a day and I do a video every day and I do self-development every day, that's going to work. It's just going to work. In 5 months, I was at 10,000 a month. And that was from zero. Like I was broke because I had lost everything in the real estate crash. I was $1 million in debt, in foreclosure, divorced, depressed, you name it. I had all those things. 20 no's a day, video a day, self-development every day. 5 months, I'm at 10,000 a month. 7 months, I'm at 40,000 a month. 10 months, I'm at 50,000 a month. I go on and become the number one earner, make millions of dollars, have my first $1 million year 2013, first $1 million month 2014, first $1 million day 2015. And so those 20 no's were the infrastructure that I built off. And 20 no's specifically means people tell me no, not a non-response. I got lots of those, right? I'm talking about someone says, no, I'm not open to take a look at what you're doing. No, I don't want that. No, you can't share your thing. No, you can't be on the stage.
Wow.
And that's how I built an entire empire.
You're kidding. How in the world do you do that? That feels like
6
almost,
months.
but how do you do that?
How do I do it?
Yeah, it feels like you'd have to, to get actual 20 no's, it feels like you'd have to reach out to like 50, 75 people a day.
Sometimes more. And but the journey that God has had me on, I've just done some weird stuff, man. When I was 18, I was making 450 calls a day selling long distance, which people don't even know what that is anymore. But I was making 450 calls a day selling telephone service, right? After a little bit down the road after that, I was 22 days a month on the road, Vegas, Chicago, Phoenix, Miami, LA, selling a $7,000 system in a 90-minute cold pitch to an audience that didn't know me. And so I've just had some interesting and in between there, I was going door to door selling advertising to commercial businesses. So I've just had some weird experiences with sales. And so 20 no's a day is you will get there in less than 2 hours a day if you're dedicated. And it's just, warm market, cold market, realtor signs, whatever. I recruited the crossing guard at my kid's school. I recruited the bartenders. I recruited at the dance club. I just recruited a lot of people from all kinds of weird places. I recruited people from MySpace. Yes. MySpace, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, TripAdvisor. That was interesting. So like I just constantly, where do I get a no from today? And sometimes it was a yes. And so it's, but most people, they're just sitting back. I sure hope I get a lead today. And, they're refreshing their screen and very passive. And this is, you go get the business, man. And I did build up by doing that video a day back then. I did build up to, there was a time where I was generating 3,000 leads a month without ads. And, and then I didn't have to do so much reach out. It was more reply. And so then I kind of stopped tracking the no's because I figured, you know what, I now have kind of a flow of leads coming in, so I'm just going to reply to them. And honestly, part of me regrets that because I believe in whatever you're selling, you go for 20 no's a day, you're going to absolutely crush it. I've had, to my knowledge, 3 people tell me that they went for 20 no's a day for an extended period of time. All 3, I'm sure it's a coincidence, became $1 million a year earners. All 3. And I'm just telling you, if you sell HVAC, if you sell vacuums, if you sell whatever you sell, you go and get 20 no's a day, you are going to sell that thing. You're going to sell it. But people don't, they go for the yes. And they're like, sure, hope I get a yes today. And what's interesting about going for no too is there were days, I remember this particular Friday, I would have maybe a week where I didn't get a sale, but I still got my 20 no's every day. Well, this one Friday, I have 5 sales before noon. Doesn't matter. I didn't have my 20 no's. So I kept going and I got more sales, right? So it's like, it's just a discipline of sales are gravy. I got to get my no's.
That's
if
cool.
you take on that persona, you're going to break records in your company, whatever you're selling.
Yeah, that's good.
I hope you're loving this episode so far. So if you're serious about writing and publishing your book, we would love to chat with you and help create a custom plan. All right. So all you need to do right now is go to selfpublishing.com/schedule. Schedule a 45-minute consultation with one of the experts on my team. All right. Let's implement what you're learning in this episode and let's see how we can help with your book. Go to selfpublishing.com/schedule.
Now, I'm going to assume that you train sales teams on this.
For sure, yeah. I mean,
I'm like, this is gold. This is
I've
really,
trained
really
a lot
good.
of sales team, and I've helped a lot of companies with their scripts. Like I worked with a small insurance company. They were selling health insurance, and I looked at their scripts. I'm like, these are terrible, and so I rewrote their scripts, and they added $40,000 a week in this. I mean, there was like 8 of them, and so that I do a lot of that. I don't advertise that, but God's kind of gifted me with that. So I'm very good at scripts, and yeah, I've definitely taught Go for No for a decade.
Cool. And on that note, what do you look for when you're hiring for sales?
Okay, so this isn't the greatest question for me because I realized about maybe 4 years ago, I'm too optimistic. Like if I talk to someone and they're like, I'm really good, I'm like, you're hired, and so like I just realized I'm not good at that. And so I do have, my COO. I'll make final decision, but she's got to whittle it down to to someone,
okay.
and then I'll talk to them. So I look at one, I pray and I get answers in prayer, so that's number one. But I look at do they see that there's any area of their game that can be improved? If they don't see that if they just see like, nope, I'm amazing, like there's no, I'm at the tippy top, right? If they don't see that there's any room for growth for them, that's a big warning sign because it shows obliviousness. I have lots of room. I have lots of room for growth, right? And I work on it every single day. And so I look at is this somebody that is going to be all about profit, or does impact factor in there, right? And so if they're asking me questions all about the comp plan and all about what will I get paid and what if I hit certain metrics, and they never ask me much about, hey, what am I selling? I'm just like, that's a little interesting because, impact and income go hand in hand. And, the Bible tells us that, the Lord gives you the power to get wealth. Well, the power to get wealth is wisdom, right? Wisdom in the solving of the problems of others. And if you're going to sell something, I want to know, does it actually solve the problems of others? When I was a speaker for a real estate company, and that's when I was on the road all the time, when I realized that they weren't honoring their agreement, okay, they were still paying me, but when I realized they weren't honoring their agreement and they weren't actually taking care of the customers, even though I had no other income, I left. I quit. I remember I was at an event in Phoenix, and I'm talking to this lady before I go on and do my spiel, and she's like in her late 70s, and she's super sweet. And I had heard some of the people that I had sold the system to were complaining and saying, "Hey, I'm reaching out to the home office, no one's responding." And so I remember I'm talking to this lady, and the thought came up, I hope she doesn't buy. And I'm like, what am I doing? And what I was doing is I was trying to survive because I'd lost everything else. Real estate market had crashed. And so this was my only income. And that was the last event I ever did because I'm like, I can't represent something I don't believe in. And so if the salesperson comes in and all they care about is, money, what am I going to make, that sort of thing. And they don't want to even look or even, like give me some testimonials or something. Tell me, what is it you guys do? Then to me, that's a big red flag.
Got it. Cool. That's really good. Let's switch gears a little bit. And I want to talk about using books to get booked for more speaking and just getting booked for more speaking as a whole. I mentioned this at the top of the episode. Yeah. You kill it with the speaking game. How do you get booked for so many events, for like really massive events? And what would be your tips for other people who are looking to get booked for more speaking gigs?
Yeah. Couple things. So one is a lot of content. I mean, I create a lot of content. Like when I made that vow, right, that I'm gonna do a video a day every day. I did that for 12 years. I did it from July 15, 2009 to mid-July 2020 or 2021, I think 2021. And so like that's every day. I didn't miss a day. I didn't miss a Christmas. I didn't miss a honeymoon. I didn't miss, I did a video every single day for all of those years. And then even in that week, I took a day off or maybe 2 days off, and then I got back to it. Right. And so I create a lot of content. And so you first, the number one, big deal if you want to get booked for more speaking events is build a bigger following. When you build a bigger following, people want that star power on their stage. Right. And you got to ask yourself, if someone booked you, okay, so because here's the mistake that people make. People think that I'm really good. They should have me on their stage. Let me tell you, there's a lot of really good speakers that don't get booked for much. And you have to look at, if they book me, will their sales increase? Now, they could increase because of my notoriety as an author or whatever else, or will they increase because I'm going to promote and I'm going to get them some sales? Like you got to look at things differently, but too many people, they hold on to how good they are, right? And
that's good.
That is it's a factor. It's a factor, especially for getting rebooked, right? But it's a very small factor of how good of a speaker you are, right? Now, if you have speaking experience, ask yourself this: if I look at your content and I don't read your bio, do I know you're a speaker? So one of the things that we do is every time I speak at an event, we take clips, we put them on YouTube, we put them everywhere, we put them in reels, we mix them up, right? Why? Because I want people seeing me, oh, he's a speaker. Oh, I see him on stage. But see, a lot of people, they don't utilize that. So they'll speak on stage and it's amazing. And then they get back to the house and they're shooting this talking head video, like they're in their studio, right? And we never see any clips of them on stage. That you need, as soon as you speak, man, use that footage as much as you possibly can, and just get it out there. And you can also use, like, one thing we just did this. We sent to about 150 companies. We sent a copy of our leadership book, right? And so I did a video. I did a video. So when you open the package, it has a book and it says, hey, here's a free gift for you. I got a message for you. Here's the QR code, click this. And so when they go there, it's a video message from me. And I say, hey, I hope you enjoy, this book. You may or may not know me, but you're part of a very small list of companies that I would love to help provide value to, whether it's a virtual training or if you have an event. I do speak at a lot of events. And so, I'm doing that kind of thing, but I could send a marketing pamphlet. Okay. But instead I'm sending that book. Now, what happens with a book? A book has a strange psychology behind it. Okay. And if you could see my office, I got books everywhere, man. Like, I got some books back there, but I got books up here. A book, right? You get this book. It's hard to throw away. You know what I mean? You get a marketing material. It's like, whatever, right? Easy, right? Yes. You get this book. You're like, I may or may not want to read it, but I bet I know someone who would, right? I mean, I know me, like, I just don't throw away books. I may donate them. I may take them to the Goodwill. Someone's going to read them, right? So for me, it's hard to, I think most people think like, man, this is a book. This is a unit of value. Like, let me give it to someone that I think may help, or let me read it myself, or maybe I'll donate it. But most people don't throw them away. And that's powerful. because most marketing material does get thrown away, does get forgotten about, does get filed away and never seen again. And so that's just, one of the ways is you get your book, you get a decent, price on it. You send some of those out, and it's one of those deals that if I get one gig from that, all of it's paid for easily, and then some. And then what else may happen? I've had clients that, bought my book, came to my event, bought my $50,000 coaching, renewed the next year. I mean, we track this stuff. I have clients that started at a book that dropped $250,000 with me. And so that's why, having that book as a calling card and as a piece of marketing material is very powerful.
That's great. I completely agree with that. And I love that we're aligned on that methodology, because whenever I go speak somewhere, we give away tons of books for free to the attendees. Sure. And that's just like another, obviously then you've already got the gig booked, but for us, that's adds value to the conference. It helps us lead collect in a major way. And then you see people, I'll pull it up of here, but it's like, you see people carrying around this red published book everywhere. Yeah. People are like, whoa, what's that? What's that? What's that? And if we've got a booth there, then people are coming to the booth. You talked about, will this help increase their revenue for their event, which I think is just a really great question. Or if they book me, will their sales increase? Was the phrase you used?
Yes.
We often think about like an event organizer typically wants to solve three problems, right? They want to sell tickets for the event. They want great content for the attendees at that event. And they want to obviously increase revenue from the event, whether their model is ticket sales only or using the event, and this is a conversion event. So they're selling something at the event. So thinking through, how can I solve one or more of those problems if they book me or book us to come in and speak at their event? I love the outbound strategy. Would you say is the majority of the stages and speaking gigs that you do mostly outbound, mostly inbound? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we have, in reaching out to get speaking gigs, we have been terrible. So I don't, we just this year have we like sent outbound stuff. And so we've been very blessed. God has been very good. Every speaking event that I can think of over the last 14 years, they've all come to us. And so that's very unusual. That's rare. But I believe it's from a few factors. I believe it's from a ton of content. I believe it's from having books and resources out there that people can review and rate and all that. And 3, having a good reputation. We've kept a good reputation, and that's critical. Our last event, Faith Over Fear, which you guys were sponsors of, we really appreciate it. And John Maxwell was our keynote speaker, and it's interesting because he said, I forget exactly how he said it. How John says stuff, right? Like, it's awesome. Yeah. But John said, he goes, everyone comes to me and they want to know, how to get this, how to get that, right? How do I get my podcast to the top? How do I get stages? How do I get, booked, right? How do I get clients, right? And they never ask, how do I get better so that I? Right? And so it reminds me of Steve Martin's got a great story on one of the Actors Guild or something like that. Mm-hmm. And Steve Martin is telling this story about, you may have seen the quote, but here's the story behind it. So Steve Martin was telling this story of when he's in Hollywood, he's at a cocktail party. Eventually, somebody, the waiter, waitress, the hostess, someone will be like, hey, Steve, I'm an actor, right? And he's like, he knows how this is going to go. He's like, oh, okay, and how do you think I could get some good, do you know anyone that's looking for a good actor, right? And he says, yeah, I'll tell you the secret, man. I'll tell you the secret. And they're like, oh, looking around, this is a good moment here. And he says, be so good they can't ignore you. See, no one asked that question, right? How can I be so good that I am a force in my industry that cannot be ignored? I am the city built on the hill that cannot be hidden. I am the light that shines that you can't put under the bed or a basket, right? How can you be that? And when you become that, when you look around at what is my competition not willing to do, what aren't they doing? How are they not serving? How do I show up in a manner that the industry has no choice but to bend to my will, that has no choice but to pay attention to me? And that is the bigger questions.
That's good. I love that. Last question too, we'll wrap.
Yeah.
Is specific to the network marketing speaking world. What would be your tip? Pedro on my team, and we're booking a ton of events this year, and I'm speaking at some of them. We're building out our speaking team, and we got speakers who are speaking at events, stuff like that. On that, and obviously you mentioned that, hey, there's network marketing events happening every month. And one of the things that Pedro and I have talked about is like, how do we break into this world when we're not really from that world? So what would be your tips for anyone listening, but also just selfishly for us of like, how to break in and get those first gigs booked so that then, hey, when we show up and we are so good that people can't ignore us, we're like kind of in that world.
Yeah. So you're going to like this, man. This is going to be a gateway drug for you. This would be my play. All right. Is one, you guys are very good, right? You're good at presenting. You got a good, you understand how to present an offer that's valuable, that people want. As a sponsor, you did very good at our event. And this is how I would handle it, right? And John Maxwell says, it always, everything ebbs and flows by the leaders, right? I would go to company owners and leaders and say, hey, listen, we followed your journey. We think what you've done is amazing. We think you should have a book. Here's what we're going to do. Our standard book package is whatever, 15 G's or 20 G's or whatever it is. But, here's what we're willing to do. If you can get us in with the company and you can have us at the event, we want to take care of your book for you because we think the world needs it. That's how I would handle it. Cool. Not trying to pitch. So taking some, income in a manner away, right, from charging that person. And leading with value, never take someone's word on it because they'll promise you the world. But, hey, if you get us in front of your company and we can, be a sponsor of your event or be a vendor or whatever, if you get us in there, then we want to help you, depending on that level, we want to help you with that. And so if you start displaying network marketing company owner, they will all hire you. And they will all want to offset costs, and they will all have you at every single event that ever exists.
Cool.
How's that?
That's great. I love it.
Send me a cut. We'll be good to go.
We'll send you a check. Pedro's going to be listening to this, and we're going to be implementing. I love it.
That's how you do it. And just like Gary Vee talks, or at least he talked about this. I haven't followed his stuff lately, but Gary Vee, he would study his customers, right? When his focus was wine, right? He would study them and he'd find out, oh, they're a Buffalo Bill fan. They bought $2,000 worth of wine from me. He'd send them a jersey, a Buffalo Bills jersey. People don't do that stuff. They send, just goofy baskets or whatever, right? And so I would get to know, really study, these different company owners and the really high upper echelon leaders. And I would say, hey, here's what we know about your story. Boom, 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 boom. Like you've actually studied them and they're going to feel so honored and say, we think this would make an amazing book. We'd love to help you. And we'd actually love to do it for free. If we're able to get some exposure and work with some of your other leaders, et cetera. That's how I would approach it. That would be cool. That would be your game changer.
Love it.
Yes, sir.
Coming to a network marketing stage near you. We'll execute. Ray, this has been awesome, man. I've really enjoyed this. Where can people go to find out more about you, your company, whatever's the best place to send people to work with you or learn more?
Yeah. So, what I specifically do is I teach network marketers faith-based mindset and leadership principles that work. A year ago, this past November, I came to Christ. And so for me, Christ was an exchange, not an addition. So I talk a lot about faith now. And so I do 6 days a week walk in faith on videos on social media. And, you can catch those on Instagram. It's just at Ray Higdon, very simple. And then once a year, we run our event. Which after 10 years of running an annual event, we changed the name last year to Faith Over Fear. And we have a lot of faith-based business strategies that we teach and faith-based speakers. It's still a business summit, right? Don't get me wrong, but we show you how to be someone of faith and build a profitable business that makes a large impact. And, for that event, you can learn more at faithoverfearlive.com.
Cool. That's great. Guys, check it out. faithoverfearlive.com. We got to speak at the last one and we're a sponsor there, and it was awesome. So check it out. And if you're ready to get started on your book, head on over to selfpublishing.com/talk. We've got some free resources there. You can book a call with the team. We'd love to chat with you about your book and how we can help. Ray, this has been great, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Self-Publishing School podcast. I know there's so many places that you could be spending your time. There's other podcasts that you could be listening to, YouTube channels that you could be watching. So thank you so much. It means the world. Now, I want you to do 3 things right now if you found this episode helpful. I don't know if you know this, but we've got a YouTube channel. It's a companion channel to this podcast. All the video versions of the episode are on the YouTube channel. So number 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Number 2, if you're listening to this podcast wherever, whether this is Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Number 2, I want you to subscribe to this podcast right now so you don't miss a future episode. And then number 3, this is probably the most important, leave a review on the podcast. All right, reviews are super important and help this podcast get discovered by other people. So number 3, leave a review on the podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Self-Publishing School podcast. I know there's so many places that you could be spending your time. There's other podcasts that you could be listening to, YouTube channels that you could be watching. So thank you so much. It means the world. Now, I want you to do 3 things right now if you found this episode helpful. All right, number 1, I don't know if you know this, but we've got a YouTube channel. It's a companion channel to this podcast. All the video versions of the episode are on the YouTube channel. So number 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Number 2, if you're listening to this podcast wherever, whether this is Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Number 2, I want you to subscribe to this podcast right now so you don't miss a future episode. And then number 3, this is probably the most important, leave a review on the podcast. All right, reviews are super important and help this podcast get discovered by other people. So number 3, leave a review on the podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. If you're on the fence about scheduling a publishing consultation call with my team, maybe you're not quite ready for that, I've got some free training that I think will be really helpful for you. All right, all you have to do is go to register to sign up. Go to selfpublishing.com/free training. When you do, you're also going to get a free digital copy of my new book published. And on that training, you're going to learn the next steps, so how to implement with your book. So how to write, how to publish, how to launch successfully. So go to register right now at selfpublishing.com/free training. I'll see you there.